Oh, he is gorgeous. He's great. He is gorgeous. He's a good boy. He's a happy, bouncy boy. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Oh, it's okay, baby.
You guys don't look much like your mom. I wonder what your daddy was.
I have no idea, but we got solid black and solid brown.
And they picked the mama up from a dumpster.
This is one of the 8.
And what about this handsome?
He was at a dumpster in Sterlington.
Just at a dumpster.
Yep.
Oh no. So we've been boiling water for the last few days. Oh, get back in there, Chubby. Chubbs. Oh, that was short and stocky.
Oh, I got him back up. Oh, he is gorgeous.
He's great.
He is gorgeous. He's a good boy. He's a happy, bouncy boy.
I have crates for 44 dogs that different people have been fostering, and they're going to bring them hopefully one by one. They have to load first anyway because I have to push their crates back.
Here in Monroe, in West Monroe, we have kill shelters that are, it's embarrassing to see the state that the facilities are in. And you go to areas like Colorado, to Portland, Oregon, even Illinois, and the shelters there look like our no-kill shelters here. And their shelters are kill shelters, but they don't have to kill. They don't have to euthanize for space, for health, for anything. I believe, unfortunately, this generation is lost. I believe it should come down to the children that are growing up today. Education, 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 spay and neuter. We have rescued our way in other states out of the problem, so I know it's possible. I just think we're behind the 8 ball down here, and we started off way far from the starting gate.
Oh goodness, Jersey. We have some that got car sick, which happens a lot, no big deal. This is just what we deal with. It's okay, boo. We tell our fosters to feed just a really light meal before transport because of this. And sometimes they don't get car sick if they have just a little bit in their tummies.
The tan is Henry. He was dumped at the nursing home I was working at. He's another reason I got into fostering because he was so grateful. He was so grateful. Whenever the change in the demeanor in him versus my 2 that I got just from like homes versus being out on the street, like you can tell a difference. You can tell a difference in the rescue dogs and how thankful they are to have homes. And so he actually kind of inspired me to do some of the fostering that I do.
Angel.
Look at this tiny angel. Oh, look at this beauty. My goodness gracious sake alive.
They're all zip tied in and safe.
Hey, baby.
Ouachita Parish Animal Shelter had posted about a mama that was giving birth and asked for a foster, so I agreed to do it. I actually gave them my master bathroom, so yes, while they were nursing and young, they stayed in the tub, and as they got older, they kind of had the run of the house. So.
We're taking some beautiful kitties and one mama cat down to Alexandria to meet transport. And lucky little kitties will go to Colorado and find their forever homes. Got some beauties back there, all colors, very young, and they will probably be apartment kitties and get to go outside and watch the snow and be loved forever and not allowed to run loose.
Well, we have brought 44 heartbeats to Acadiana Animal Aid to get their health certificates. They'll get their clean bill of health and then be able to board a flight on the Wings of Rescue to Colorado Springs, Colorado, and to San Diego, California.
Okay, so in the South, it's an epidemic because we don't have spay-neuter laws, because we don't have licensing laws. So people say, well, why are we sending these dogs up north? Why are we sending these dogs to other states? Well, states that have licensing laws, spay-neuter laws, they don't have the amount of dogs we have. We may see intakes upon the thousands in the course of a year. And I want you to think about those dogs coming in, and not everybody gets out the right way. Many dogs leave after being euthanized because we can't keep up with the numbers. So that's why we move those dogs. But eventually, their needs are going to be met. Then what? If we're not spaying and neutering and controlling our pet population and being responsible pet owners, we're back to this cycle, and dogs will die, and cats will die. It's just puppies and kittens will die. It's puppy and kitten season right now, and there's a lot of high kill shelters that can't keep up with the volume, and they will literally take a litter of pups and their mom, or a litter of kittens and their mother, back to the room, and they will all be put to sleep.
They eat the dry, but it's not.
Mix it, okay, mix it or just give them some wet?
I've just been giving them wet.
I think the first dog I ever had was Rhett. He came from Ouachita Parish Animal Shelter. He was very ill. I had to keep him about 3 months before he could go on transport. But, and I really got attached to it. When I took him down to Alexandria to meet transport, I sat on that parking lot and cried like I was losing a child or something. But this is the icing on the cake as far as rescue goes, because at this point you know they're safe and they're going to a good place. And then the driving, I love the driving part. My mother told me I should have been a truck driver.
I was feeding some feral cats, and he was in the middle of the yard crying for help, and I put him where the food is, where all the cats come eat, hoping Mama would come and take him back, and I waited about an hour. The cats all came and ate. They came and ate. Nobody took him. He sat there for about another hour, and I figured I just couldn't leave him there to die. So I took him home, bought some milk, and started bottle feeding him. And now we're looking for a rescue to take him. Until then, I'll continue to feed him. My neighborhood is crawling with feral cats and kittens, and I mean, I feed at least 50 at 4 different sites. It's sad, and you know, I trap them and spay and neuter what I can, but it just seems like you're not even scratching the surface. Before you know it, you see the ones that are ear-tipped and been fixed. The next thing you know, you've got 6 more you've never seen before with a pregnant mama or 2. But if they're hungry and the city sets traps out and they're not trap savvy, they're gonna go in there and get caught. If they're feral, they're not adoptable, they're dead, you know. They euthanize them within a day or 2 and they're thrown into the incinerator. And it's sad. People would just spay and neuter. Oh, I mean, and I hear about this, people, we're sending all these cats to Colorado. Apparently they must have some good programs. They don't have a cat population problem. They have a lack of kittens. Louisiana needs to learn something from that, you know.
That's why we do transport a lot of them to other rescues in other areas. You know, Colorado, they have exceptional spay-neuter laws, so they do not have the overpopulation problem that we have. You know, they have more people willing to adopt. They don't have as many animals. We have, you know, our overpopulation problem is horrendous here. You know, there are not enough homes in our area for these animals. So this is our best option. Until we can fix the laws in our state, the best option is getting them out and getting homes for them where they're wanted.
This is our transport van. We do at least monthly trips, sometimes bi-monthly trips to Florida, Colorado. We've been to Michigan, all over really. And this is what we'll use tomorrow to bring most of the dogs to the airport.
Let's go, everybody.
Come on. The whole guys, come on. 4, 9. Come on. Come on. Last one. 10. Oh, goodness.
Goodness gracious.
Okay, so sometimes people think the answer to our overpopulation in the shelters in the southern U.S. is just get them all to rescue. Well, that's wrong, because we will never rescue ourselves out of this mess. We have a pet overpopulation problem, and that comes from a lack of spay and neuter. It comes from people believing a dog has a right to have a litter of puppies. That male dog needs to be fully intact in order to enjoy his life. The dog is healthier, less prone to aggression, less prone to wandering, less prone to cancer if they're altered. And an altered dog makes a much better house pet, and you're more likely to keep that animal because it's not going to be so hyper or destructive. So,
you know, we do have a board that, you know, is very involved with, you know, our animal control and our local government, trying to, you know, push things and, you know, work on improving the laws for the animals in our area. You know, it's a really, really slow process, and hopefully we'll eventually get there. But, you know, we are slowly making steps in the right direction. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Roxy was a puppy that was found at a dump site, and the worker that got there saw her. She was basically, all the hair was going off of her. He didn't know what to do, so he was going to shoot her. He got a hold of someone, and they told him about the rescue in this area, and they took her in, got her to the vet, got her treated, and I saw her on social media that they needed a foster for. So I contacted my person who does the rescue, NELAABLE, and was like, I'll take her. She played, she was like any other dog, despite the fact that she had the mange. I got to watch her progression, got to see her fur growing back, and by the time she left, she was a beautiful dog.
Hey, she's going to have a good life.
So I was like, you're going to California. Yeah. It was like, you're going to California.
There's so many animals in need, and if you're saving 10 at a time, you're just not making a drop in the bucket. Yes, for those 10 dogs, you've saved their lives, but there are hundreds and thousands more that need them. And so probably every 2 weeks or so, they have a transport program that takes these dogs to other area no-kill shelters or straight to people who have adopted them. And it just costs money. I mean, you have to pay the drivers that are driving the van, you have to pay for all of the vetting and upkeep of when the dogs are in your care, along with the fosters that you provide all the food and vetting and so forth for them as well. So it's a big, huge undertaking.
every morning you wake up and you might have 5 requests in your inbox. This dog needs help, or this dog's going to die. Here's pictures. And you just feel so responsible. And you can't feel responsible for absolutely everyone, and yet you do. And that becomes a problem when you can't detach and say no when you truly can't help without feeling like you've let down the world. I started out by volunteering at Ouachita Parish Animal Shelter, and they were advertising on Facebook because it was very, very cold that they had animals in desperate need to get out of the shelter. So I went down and I picked up Stu and Penny, my very 2 first fosters, and absolutely fell in love with them, did their pictures. Anytime someone would come in the shelter and I was volunteering, I would, talk to people and say, oh, you got to adopt these 2 because got so attached and realized that's not the best way to do it with foster. You can't take every step of their lives personally. You have to be able to detach too. But that was just the first of, I don't even know how many dogs.
Fostering for us in rescue is probably one of the most important jobs that anyone can do. We cannot pull dogs from shelters or rescue them from the streets or rescue them from the free on Facebook ads if we don't have somewhere for them to go. Somebody will contact me with a litter in need or a puppy in need, and I will put out the call to all the fosters and say, who can foster this little guy for me for a week, for 2 weeks, maybe a month at the longest. If we had more fosters, we could rescue more animals and save them.
It's definitely made me grow as a person. I feel a little more compassionate than I did to begin with, but it also will take a toll on you, I'm gonna be honest, because there's always dogs that need help, and you can't help all of them. So I have learned to just do what I can do, and to take care of myself and to not try to stress, because if I could, I would take every animal in. But that's not possible, so I just give as much love as I can to the ones I've got. Anytime they are leaving to go to rescues or to their new homes, I always pray over them. I just want to know that they're going to be in a good home. So yeah, it's definitely made me more compassionate.
Well, these guys are part of a litter of 7. They were found at the Darbun Spillway, and a couple of ladies of the Union Parish Humane Society rescued them. There were 4 girls, 3 boys, and the 4 girls were healthy, beautiful skin, and the 3 boys had some skin issues, so they stayed. They didn't get to go on that first transport. And by the time they'd been here 3 months, I didn't want to say goodbye, so they stayed. Now they're here forever. I love dogs. I enjoy them, and once they become used to each other and cohesive, we have the usual snaps and snarls, but they nap together. You know, they all, 4 will lay in the front of the couch while we're watching television, and 2 will lay in beds, and 1 will hop up in a chair. So we make a pretty good family unit in front of the TV. So, and I don't know how a no-kill shelter does it. I mean, you have to stop receiving dogs at some point, and that's so sad. We live in the parish. We live in a rural setting. We've been out here 33, 34 years, and for the first 20 years, every year, no lie, every year, 10 to 15 dogs have been dumped on this road. They were near a dumpster. The dumpsters were like through the woods, and the dumpsters have now been removed, but I never had to go to a shelter. I mean, we came out to the country with, a dog or 2. Within 6 months of us living here, a pregnant dog wandered on. We called her Mama Dog, and she gave birth to a litter of 10. So we had them. And when we first moved on the property, there was a big black lab that was just here. I mean, we're like pouring a foundation, and there's a big black lab just living here. So Sam was one of the first strays that we got. It was like we moved onto his property. But in a rural setting, people truly believe that many animals are disposable.
When we tell them we have a litter of 10 puppies that were found in a dumpster, they're horrified. Who does that? How does that come to be? The fact we don't spay and neuter routinely. All those things, yeah, they find that kind of horrifying.
Our community mindset is not even close. It's not even 10 years away. We're probably a whole generation away. I always say that I think this generation is lost, but if we can get to the children to teach them the new and better way to do this, then that's where our future lies.
I can speak to Canada because I was born and raised in Canada, and I left there when I was in my late 30s. And as long as I can remember as an adult, spay-neuter laws, licensing was in place. When I was first married, we still had to spay and neuter our pets. We had to get licenses, so that's like 35 years worth. We're here because tomorrow we have a transport bus leaving for California full of rescue animals. The majority of the animals we have on this trip are street animals that people wanted to avoid taking to a shelter.
They're a nonprofit, and they make transports usually in the California area or close to there, but this is a special deal that they're coming down here and saving these dogs that are so in need.
There is no improvement in animal overpopulation. There's no improvement in the care these animals are receiving in some of these homes that let them breed and then just dump them. The only improvement is the people who care are working harder, and the people who don't care still don't care.
I already feel like we're in just always in chaos mode down here. We're trying to save as many as we can save, but yet they're still coming in at an alarming rate.
I'm here bringing 2 foster puppies that we had for 2.5 months, giving them a better life, a new life, a chance at a life. So fostering saves lives. It's hard work, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
I had a foster dog about 2 months ago that it took me 5.5 days to catch her. A little weenie dog someone dropped off at a dumpster. Finally, one of the prisoners that work over at the expo over in Dubach helped me catch her, and she was abused. She's in a home now, but they're having issues with her being abused, probably by a male, because the dad cannot touch her at all, and he's already been bit twice. But what is wonderful about this is that the family is willing to work with the dog and help overcome her issues, so I'm hoping it'll work out.
It's terrible, though, that we've had to, you know, find homes for these babies. Spay and neutering is something that needs to happen in this city, in the state, actually.
At first, I was appalled. I was like, not appalled that they were shipping puppies out, but I was appalled that such a huge quantity could be loaded on a bus and sent somewhere where they wanted them. That's amazing. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And they're all adopted. You're thinking, oh, they're gonna go somewhere else and just sit in a cage. But they don't go somewhere else and sit in a cage. They go somewhere else and they're loved.
They have unconditional love. If you scold your dog in the morning before you leave for work, when you come home in the afternoon, that dog's going to meet you at the door with his tail wagging and just loving. He's forgotten completely about it. And people don't do that. No, people remember things like that. But pets enhance your lives in all sorts of ways. They keep me calm. They nurture me, and they allow me to nurture them. I have a strong mothering streak, and now that my kids are grown, I lavish that affection on my pets. They're part of my family, always have been. I think affection is very important to animals. They respond to it just like people do. I enjoy being hugged and touched and petted, and I do the same for my pets. They thrive on it.
Fostering is good for us just because, to me, it's my happy place. It calms me if I've had a bad day. There's nothing like coming home to a room full of dogs and just getting unconditional love. They don't care what I look like. They don't care how I'm behaving. They love me. It's pure 100% unconditional love.
So on the way here, somebody called me about a bloodhound hound mix that she had found in Monroe over the weekend, and skin and bones, sores all over her back, her nails grown almost into her pads on the underside of her feet. She had a collar on. She had a number on the collar. She had an address on the collar. But when they investigated, you know, further, people had moved out of the house, and they just let her roam. And she's been roaming for a long time now. So I get those calls every single day, and I want to help every single dog. But realistically, I have 48 dogs in foster right now. I don't have any room. I have 12 dogs at my house alone, and the need for fostering, the need for volunteers, the need for just open your eyes. Open your eyes to see and look what our reality is here. I know that people don't want to live this way. I know I don't want to live this way. I don't want to see that on Facebook. I don't want to see that picture. I wouldn't post the picture, but it needs to be seen. People need to know what really goes on. Even though they think that they would never do something like that, people think that that's okay, and it's not.
Expressway, then keep left onto I-49 south towards US 167 south.
I do love to drive. It's just, it's a win-win situation. I get to get out of the city limits, and they get to go to a safe place. So it's a good thing for both of us.
Yeah, I just volunteered in Houston. Volunteered in Houston at the shelter there, and we always had trouble getting animals to where they belonged. So I bought a van and started driving, and been driving. This is my second van. There's 5 big shelters in Houston. I won't bore you with all the names. The city one, the county one, Humane Society, SPCA, and one called Captain. Between those 5, every year they put down between 80 and 100,000 animals every year. Do the math.
Oh my.
And it's not the shelter's fault.
Yeah, right.
There's rescue groups busting their ass to help. There's other smaller shelters, but people just won't spay and neuter.
Spay and neuter.
We can't adopt our way out of this.
Right.
We cannot adopt our way out of this. It's got to be spay and neuter. I mean, and there's a lot of people in Houston need to be spayed and neutered.
Yes, I agree.
And South Louisiana
We
too.
have the other ones in Monroe.
Yeah.
that need to be spayed.
Thank you all. Thank you. I'm going to get on the road.
You're welcome. Be safe. Be safe. It's just so rewarding to know that those babies are now on their way to a good home. They probably don't know it, but this is the best day of their life so far.